Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back after episode 8 of Deal or No Deal Island, ready to break it all down with, in my mind, the king and queen of Dondi. Here they are, here with us, of course, back. It's Chappell. Chappell, how are you?
Hey, we're back. We're back. I'm excited. We got more Dondi, more to talk about, and some interesting things that happened in this episode that I would say is probably kind of slow for Dondi this season. You know, I think we got a little break from some of the action this time.
Well, after the last couple episodes where we had, very tense showdowns with everything with CK and Dr. Will, that I feel like tonight was a little bit of a week to catch our breath on the Dondi, as they say. And here with us, a woman who is ready to talk about it all. It's Jenny Autumn. Jenny, how are you?
I'm great. So if Chappell and I are the king and queen, are we the mom and dad as well? Like, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I
So
I'll daddy.
I know this about you. Wait, why do I? Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I am the mom of this. Am I the mom of this podcast? Sure.
I believe so.
I'll take that.
Your mother.
Are you Dixon?
No, I think I'm Grandpa.
Papa.
Okay. Are you Joe?
Yes.
You Joe. You're Joe.
Yeah.
You're Joe.
Look, Joe can
I love
be
that
Joe
for
can be
you.
Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it all. Liselle was that everybody said, like, hey, the bankers due to get one tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is tough. Me and Jenny, I think we can just say we were holding out hope for Liselle. We've been kind of keeping an eye on her throughout the season.
Yeah, like this was I mean, we kind of talked about it last week where it was like, a lot of the players have been out front here, and the most dangerous spot in this game is that flying under the radar, in the middle, not wrapped up in the drama person. And that was Liselle. Liselle was never named in any sort of nonsense, but no one was going after her. And in a lot of cases, that's a very, very good place to be. We saw it really work out for Jordan last season. And but I kept on being like, are we getting enough content from Liselle for there to eventually be a winner edit spike? And I will say throughout this episode, I got a little nervous. Didn't know how it was gonna happen. But yeah, like sometimes you just play the banker and you make a bad deal and auntie down.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Liselle seemed like she was really in a safe place. Some real extenuating circumstances cause her to be only one of two choices that Parvati is able to choose from due to the deals that got made in this episode. So kind of a bad break for Liselle overall after so many other people had played the banker and were able to beat the banker. So looking forward to hearing you both talk with Liselle on Wednesday. And of course, you can hear that when you're subscribed to our podcast feed at weknowdondi.com. All right.
Yeah. With so many people who were not on the board to get taken off every week, people who, I guess season 1, they really didn't do this as much, but there's so many people who are safe every week. Now that I look at Liselle's position, I'm thinking, you don't really want to be the person who people are saying, I'd rather that person play the banker than this person, right? Because there's so many people who people are saying, I don't want it to be Dixon because he'll come after me. I don't want it to be CK because they'll come after this person. Well, for Liselle, it's like, yeah, let it be Liselle. She won't come after me. And, then you have to go play your odds against the banker. So now that I sit with it a little bit, I'm like, man, it's tough. She put herself in a position that we've seen people win from before, like Jordan, but the game's a little bit different this season. And so it looked like it played out a little differently as well.
Yeah, I think that going back to Luke in the first week, I think that like the way that it unfolded for him where like he had a deal and he didn't take it and they got down to 2 cases and there was like a high case and a low case, and the fact that like, oh, it didn't work out for him and he put $1 into the pot, like everybody's like, okay, well, you really screwed us by doing that. I think Liselle sort of got forced into a spot, right, where there was like a high value case and a low value case there that was on the board. And she ended up taking the deal with 2 cases left, which I think is the same thing that CK and David both ended up doing. And they both ended up having $750. But in Lishelle's case, it ends up backfiring. I do feel like you come that far. I might as well see what's in my case. But I think that there's like some peer pressure of like, well, don't just leave us with a bad deal if you ultimately, you're really screwing us if you put $1 in the pot. What do I care? I'm out.
But see, Kate piped up in this moment, and I mean, it seemed like she was like loud whispering / mouthing to Lichelle, but she gave her the out, and I'm really hoping to know more about CK and Lichelle's relationship. So hopefully, we'll get some answers from Lichelle when we talk to her tomorrow. But like, CK was saying, like, I don't care about the money. I need you, like, I want you to stay. And it's like, in that moment, it's just like, maybe just commit to your case and see what happens. Who cares about the deal? But like, you get down to these decisions, it's like, I don't know. Some of them I just like, you can't fault anyone in what you do, but it's just like, if we're gonna get superstitious about choosing the case, when you get to a certain point and you get stuck in these like 50-50 decisions, no matter what, like you said, Rob, do you get superstitious about the case you chose and you just commit to it, see what happens, let it play out?
There's just an old saying, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but when you go to the dance with the girl you brought there. She went all this far with her case. There's 3 cases. Just open your case.
But it was a penny that was on the board, y'all. Like a penny would have hurt. Even if you beat the banker, like people are looking at you like, ooh, a penny. I feel like I would have lost if I came away from Deal or No Deal Island with a penny.
I think though the situation and the odds that Lichelle was working with, and also just like the reputation that she had built up with these people, I really don't think that if she ends up in this terrible scenario of having the penny in her suitcase or in her briefcase, like, no, you know what I mean? Like, they'll get over it. Like, they will understand the weird situation. And I don't think that it is exactly the same as what happened with Luke. But also she has the benefit of like going this far in the game, and like, she also was part of the team of her and CK that beat the banker together. So I just feel like she kind of had an out there to just like stick to the case. But maybe the feelings change. Maybe you start to feel like, no, I don't think I picked a very good case.
I think with Luke, it was especially bad because I think he had a point where he was like up at like a 66% chance if he would have taken the deal. Yes. And he said no, and then ultimately played it down to adding $1 to the pot.
And Lichelle didn't have that.
She never got that.
I think she was all 50, of her
the whole way through.
She never had a situation where it was like a really like clear, like, okay, your odds are super good here.
Never really had a player's board, as they say. All right, let's go back to the start of the episode. After the temple, lots of celebrating. David says, we have exorcised the demons.
You're dancing on his grave.
Right. It's just, David, it's Dr. Will, man. We don't, I love you to death, man. I'm happy for you. But also, it's still raw. It's still fresh. You can't just come out the gate tap dancing on Dr. Will. This is a legend. This is a legend, man. We gotta pay homage. Give him a moment of silence or something.
Yeah. I don't get it that seems like there are as many people who wanted Will to stay. They're really celebrating. And I feel like that the other players, I'm almost looking at them, sure, all lovely people, but I'm like, what are you all doing? Are you all even trying? What's happening? How do you not see this?
I think the only people at this stage of the game that were still, team Will are Letty and Phillip. And obviously this is like, we will see throughout this episode how this impacts their game. I think Lichelle, again, playing the middle, we didn't get a lot of insight up until this point on where she fell on like the Will and his people versus the family argument. but she seemed like okay with Will, but maybe she just didn't care for him. But even like CK, despite being in a move that he was a part of, we see her blow up the game, and they have personally not had a good relationship. So I will say that, like, at this point, most of the people that are anti-Will, like, there are more anti-Will people than people that are going to defend. And then the people that are going to defend are looking around and being like, we've got nothing. What do we do here?
Yeah.
They got to assimilate.
They're not even trying.
But they have to assimilate in the celebration moment. They're like, yay! You know, don't get me wrong. Dr. Will is very annoying, as we have seen. And all accounts across the board on every season of television he's ever been on, people have walked away and said the same exact thing. So I have to believe that there's a part of them, even though strategically it didn't serve them, a part of them is kind of happy he's gone. But at the same time, it's like, you can't be too sad about this, because had Dr. Will not gone home, it would have been somebody else. And that person would be looking at you like, oh, you wanted Dr. Will to survive. So who did you want? Who was it? Who did you want out?
But I feel like even throughout this whole episode, we see Parvati and David here calling themselves the king and the queen of Dante. They're just like talking to themselves like, this is too easy.
Oh, they whiffed this. They whiffed this. People were so hard on the Night Owls. But my side, they had a plan. They wasn't gonna let Rob just walk his way to the end without a fight, damn it. And in this episode, it was just like fumble after fumble after fumble after fumble. By the end, Parvati and they were like, "Are you serious? Is this okay? Cool. I guess here we are." So yeah, it was just like a massive difference in like the one alliance that is so tight, you know, this family, or at least Parvati and David, versus a lot of people who have been at odds and are kind of working with each other out of necessity, or would have to work with each other out of necessity to even take a shot at one of the two of them.
I feel like the social game becomes like really difficult at this point, because it's not like in Survivor where, you know, if enough people have like, this is the big target, and if they're not safe, we're going to get them out. We have the numbers. Enough people feel like this person is standing in the way. And if they are not, you know, if they don't win immunity or whatever, we have enough numbers to get this person out. But with Deal or No Deal Island, okay, maybe you can work the mission or whatever the hell I call this thing.
The excursion.
I'm so sorry. If they can make it so that the person that they really want out, the biggest threat to win the game or whatever, is at risk to play the banker, like, there's still so many other situations where you can't necessarily get them out. And if you don't succeed in getting them out, they can get you out. If you are like the biggest, the loudest voice against that person, if you do too much trying to get that person out, that could immediately directly backfire on you. And so I think that we're seeing people be a little bit cagey. But, and then other people, we can talk more about it, like Phillip just deciding to like really draw the line in the sand between him and Parvati. But it's difficult because it's like, you can know that enough people see someone as a threat, but if you make yourself as like the leader of the opposition clearly to that person, if they make a good deal, they're coming for you. And you might not be in control of who faces the banker. So it is a little bit more complicated. It's not just a vote. Numbers aren't everything here.
Only at the banker's temple.
Yeah,
that's where
but they did
numbers
with
are
this.
everything.
Make no mistake. I want to go through the excursion because there were so many fumbles. There were so many fails, so many times that somebody was about to kick the football and completely missed. Nobody snatched it. They just missed.
Okay, before we go to the excursion, so we talked about the king and queen of Deal or No Deal Island, David and Parvati. But is there a new couple forming on the banker's private island?
Oh my goodness.
Letty and Dixon are talking, and Letty is trying to build numbers. And Dixon, he's kind of got a thing for Letty. Did not come out if Letty is feeling mutual about Dixon. But maybe, could Letty be playing the Parvati game?
I like this a lot because it's almost like the reverse Parvati that we're getting shown. So we normally get Parvati being like, hey, I'm flirting with these guys and I'll get rid of them or whatever. That's probably something that we're used to. And then we get the guys being like, I want to go to the end with Parvati. Here, Letty's being very nice to Dixon and he's flirting and he's like, hey, this flirting, it's going to help because I need to string her along so that if she goes up against the banker, at least she thinks I'm an ally and she doesn't target me. But then by the end of it, it completely backfires. It does not work at all. And we never get Letty's perspective being like, did he think I was just going to save him? Like, like she never really leads into that other aspect of it. So it really felt like Dixon was onto something and just wasn't able to reel the fish in all the way.
Okay.
I need to listen. I'm trying to distance myself from the astrology girly image, but I do desperately need to know if Dixon has some Scorpio placements because this guy is like, it's giving you F with me, you're dead. Like I believe this. He holds a grudge, and any slight, and he will remember it forever. Because. He really does quite a turn on Letty here. And I thought that the way he talks about their situation very interesting because it was like, does he think, is he talking about maybe her flirting with, like, does he think she's flirting with him and that might be sincere? Or is he saying like, I'm flirting with her for game, but like, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit real. Like I was trying, like, what was your interpretation of what Dixon thinks is happening here?
I thought that Letty is talking to Dixon and he's like, I think she likes me.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of read it as they were talking and Dixon was like, yeah, I'm flirting a little bit. Hopefully it pays off in the game, So like hope if she likes me.
He is Parvati's son, Jenny. Okay.
Yeah, he's got that Parv DNA. It's just what can you
true.
do?
That is true.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
And I love that. I love that that's his aim here. I just like I was trying to figure out, I was like, does he think that he's like the one determining like, oh, I've got her right where I want her? Or like, I was trying to figure out, like, what flirting does he think is real here? What an interesting scenario this was. It doesn't last very long.
All right, let's bring Mom back into this, okay? So we see where Parvati is having a conversation with Liselle. Find out about the cutest hell firefighter that had 2 Harleys for me tomorrow when you talk to Liselle.
Yeah.
But all right, so Phillip finally wants to talk to Parvati, and Parvati's like, I am giddy. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about this. And Phillip tells Parvati that the moment you said to go after Dr. Will because he was a bully, that was disgusting. You use someone's childhood trauma as a chess piece. There's some lines that you just don't cross.
Yeah. And he says, I hope this can be a point of reflection for you and the people who look up to you because I was one of them. Drops the mic and then walks away. I really thought we were about to have like a connection, like, oh, I'm sorry. I understand.
No.
Blah, blah, blah. He's done. He
dropped the mic.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Like this started off as like one of those conversations where I was like, this is super productive. Like you see, Parvati has tears in her eyes. She's realizing she effed up, and as much as like Parvati is like, we know Parv, we know what she does. We know that she's able to turn off, the emotions and really like hyper focus on the goal here. But that her superpower is this like connection and draw that she has with people. And I don't think that you can have that connection and draw with people without it being, to a degree authentic and real for you, right? And so I truly believe that she's like, oh wow, I did F up, and like I've underestimated like this relationship and the impact that I had by doing this. And I think that it truly does hurt her. However, I think that in a lot of scenarios, Parv has like been able to resolve these sorts of conversations by showing the emotion, showing the remorse, apologizing. And that was not what Phillip was there to do. the conversation quickly, shifts. He says what he wants to say. He gets it out. And then, like you said, Chappell, I had the same thought. Drop the mic, gets up, and says, I was one of those people. Like, that was a statement. You could see it on Parv's face. She's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And Parvati now thinks that Phillip is being highly emotionally manipulative.
All right, I don't know about that, Parvati. Like when she said it, I was like, all right, Parv, I understand that you got a little heat on you right now because that probably stung a lot, but I don't think you get to be like, and you manipulated me. I was like, I think he just wanted to tell you what was on his heart, and it happened to be the day, of the challenge. I don't think it was like, Phillip does not give me, let me go and, emotionally manipulate Parvati back so I can go win the challenge, only to go and perform in the challenge like they end up doing. I don't think that's where his head was at all. But it would have been cool if it was. If he had like dropped the mic, walked out and been like, now checkmate. I'd be like, ah. But yeah, I don't think that's what this was.
I intended to rattle her.
Rattle
but like isn't there a challenge every freaking day on this show? Like, you know what I mean?
Like
like the moments that you could have the conversation, like, I don't know, maybe that might have been Parv, like, acknowledging the impact that it had, where she was like, oh, now I'm emotionally rattled, I'm upset, and I got to get my head right because I have to go do this challenge. He must have meant to do it like that.
I would have bet anything that they were going to patch things up in this conversation. When he goes to her and he tells her about what's wrong, I'm like, all right, here we go. That they're going to bury the hatchet. And I did not foresee that it would have gotten worse.
Yeah. And this is just a bad move on Phillip's behalf. Like, I understand, you gotta live your truth. You gotta say what's on your mind. But this is a social game as well. And you need as many friends and allies as you can get, especially with someone like Parvati, who we find out has been immune from elimination for 8 weeks. 8 episodes
or 8 rounds,
eliminations, right? Or whatever. That's not somebody you're going to easily be able to get out. More than likely, you'll be in danger before she is. You probably want the family to be like, well, not Phillip. We'll go after CK. We'll go after Liselle. We'll go after, I don't know, hell, anybody but me.
Letty.
And so,
he should be pushing Letty in front of him. And this is what I'm alluding to when I say, like, the social game is difficult here, because it's like, this is where you see the real human shit. Like, Phillip is having a real human moment here where he's like, and I think that this is kind of just like this seems to be the trajectory of his game based on what he says going forward here, where he's like, I don't know how much of the game part he's thinking about. He's like fueled by emotion and how he feels about these people on a personal level at this point, and it's hard to separate that. So it's like he wants to have, like, say his piece and kind of like drop the mic and be like, I see through your bullshit, and I feel differently about you now, and have that moment when it's maybe not the best game move for you to make yourself an enemy of Parv. You don't have to be her bestie anymore, but you like maybe need to fake it a little bit. And again, I said this last week, it's really hard to fake it sometimes. And I think that is just maybe who Phillip is. But like, yeah, I know Letty's your girl, but you got to be pushing her in front of you like on incoming Parv trains coming, because it's like you don't want to be in a situation where she can end your game first because she knows you don't F with her anymore.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the excursion for this week. Joe says it's a beautiful day for a nature walk, and that's what the players are going to do as they face some scary challenges along the way. This nature walk will require sacrifice. Power requires sacrifice in this game. And at each point, you'll have to identify the group's biggest liability. The person with the highest value case. Yes, do you?
I mean, I do like to step outside every now and then and go make a lap.
He likes to go on hikes.
I like a good, just real quick around the neighborhood.
This is your challenge. And I think you can handle iguanas for sure.
You would like the lizards, right?
Yeah. Oh, that wouldn't have bothered me at all. Phillip, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay. All right. Who's the most fearless? Okay. And instantly, we see that it's, Letty gets nominated by CK.
Yeah, so like again, I thank God for the boards that explain the rules. Because at first I was like, are they chained to each other? Like before we saw how this was going to play out, I was like, and also the explanation of like they have to all do it within 45 minutes. I was like, how are they all doing 45 minutes if you're getting rid of them? Anyway, it all revealed itself. But the first thing that they go to is it's a vote. They have to vote 2 people. They take a case and go back. And CK pipes right up and says, well, I think Letty should go. We don't care about man's was it manpower?
Manpower. We
Manpower.
want brain
We need
power.
brain power. And Letty
Letty
hits it
said,
back
"I
with the
got
baby. I got both.
And said, sure, Letty, sure you do. And left her right there.
They said, anyway, let's vote.
So anyway, child, it's you. Anyway,
So-
this is crazy.
Yeah. So then the other interesting part of this is that Dixon says, hey, that's not right. Okay. I'm making a stand here, and that
That's his girl.
we need Letty. And again, this is going back to, okay, that relationship that got set up. He's going to stand up for Letty, and he volunteers to stay back with her against the wishes, I would think, of his parents. He's rebelling against his parents for a girl.
It's a social
A tale
movement.
as old as time.
Yeah.
Oh no,
We
look.
don't like you running the girl you're running around with, Dixon.
Now look, if this was Aaron, I would be concerned, because there were definitely moments where I was like, sir, get your head in the game. But Dixon is completely game oriented. Every time he does something like this, he tells us in confessional that it's strategy. Like there's a moment where him and Letty are even walking back, and she's like, you see how I was the only one who stood up for you? Yeah, don't forget that. Remember that. And I was like,
Yeah.
he is making sure that she knows, like, if anybody got your back, it isn't me. And so, yeah, he ends up kind of volunteering to go with her. And to me, I'm looking at CK and I'm applauding her, because this could have easily been like a vote. You know, they could have literally sat there and said, like, who can we take out right now and put them in danger? We don't love CK. I don't think the family's obsessed with her, so I think they'd be okay letting her get left behind. And I think Lachelle, well, maybe she has Lachelle's vote. That's probably the one that I think she could probably, like, she might have that locked in. But there's no reason why Letty should be the one left behind here. They need somebody fierce and strong and brave. And Letty has one power in almost every round that Parvati's been immune in. So it's like, you kind of want her to keep going. She seems like she'd be an asset moving forward.
Okay.
I feel
Well, let's
like
keep going.
I just feel like CK, like at the beginning, tried to sell that there was like a challenge reason for this, and then they quickly pivoted to, you have won all of these things. Like, you have been in so much power. Like, the veil was lifted. They revealed like what it was really about here. But also, the raising of the hands of like, okay, well, who's going to vote out Letty here? I don't feel like they had, like, it almost seemed, I don't think they had quorum, because like Dixon said, well, Letty's super strong. Like, I don't agree with that. We see Parvati agrees with CK, and then David raises his hand. And I think that at that point, that's still only 3 votes with 7 people here. So, but then Letty just immediately kind of goes, and this might have just been the edit, but she said, okay, so I'm going, there needs to be a second one. So I just thought that was interesting. I was like, whoa, we're not doing a formal vote, making sure that we've got all the numbers here, or did someone's hand
Lachelle
get cut?
didn't throw up her hand?
I did not see
I
Lachelle
didn't
raise her
see.
hand.
Mhm.
I
I
don't
didn't see it. She does seem like she's aligned with CK in a way. You know, CK was very like, Lachelle, I need you to come back. So I'm thinking that maybe that's what it was. That's why I was questioning whether she could get the vote. But good on Parvati. Parvati has been immune for 8 eliminations. And she's like, Letty, you've had power 3 times in a row. You should go. And they're like, yeah, Letty. I'm like, Parvati has never been in danger. She's
but
like,
Parvati's not choosing who faces the banker. That is apparently like.
I'm like, Lady, you have not been in danger once. You can be left behind. She said, pick Letty. And they just went with it. I was like, oh yeah, y'all are getting cooked. This was the first of many mistakes that the counter alliance to the family is going to make.
Okay. Let's talk about the lizard tank. Face your fears, iguanas. And there's a pit, and you have to get in the pit of iguanas. and get a bag and get through the pit of iguanas.
Yeah.
And somehow we discovered Philip's number one fear in life.
Is it though?
It's pretty high up.
Do you think it's like I don't know. I don't know what else he's afraid of. It seems like that the heights is something. You know, obviously with the jumping to get the case thing a couple weeks ago. But I guess iguanas are also really high up there.
To me, because I'm trying to like, to me, I really felt bad because after he goes and like he's like petrified, right? Like paralyzed with fear. I think the clock is at like 24, 25 when he gets on it, and then he gets in the water and it's at 21. Like it took 3 minutes for him to get down the step ladder. But
maybe the water was cold. You gotta ease in.
And it takes him about 2 minutes to get under the thing and up. And then everybody else just breezes through, and he's like, "This isn't normal." And to that, I probably think like now that he saw that everybody else did it and didn't get like mauled by iguana or attacked or died, like now you're a little bit braver. You know, it's like you see the kids going into the petting zoo, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. Those are animals." But then when you see the sheep can't hurt you, you're like, "Okay, I guess I'll trust it." I feel like if he had to do it again, he'd be a lot faster.
Or did he need to see like a couple more people go through, like to be like, okay, this is like you kind of adjust your reaction because you're like, all right, all of these people went through super easy. Like I need to, but when you're only the second person to go, and I don't know, I feel like CK kind of just has this mode where she just kind of locks in. So I could see him like watching CK go and being like, okay, she's on a different plane. But yeah, it's like you could tell he's like afterwards, he's like, what are these people have iguanas for uncles or something like that? He's like, he's like, why are you guys so comfortable around these?
All right. So we get to the next signpost. Only 3 of you may continue for hikes and hanging.
I'd be comfortable hanging out with each other.
Yeah, and Parvati says, that's crazy because Phillip, you don't seem like you want to hang out with me much. You should go. I was like, what? Like, why y'all letting them get away with this?
Well, this is the thing, because it's like, you let Letty go, and maybe he didn't have a choice. Maybe he was outvoted. We didn't really see the formal vote. But the people to potentially back you here, they're gone.
They're gone.
So,
yeah, it's just Lachelle and CK who would potentially vote with him. And they don't have CK's vote. And so she's like, you can go. And, people are just like, yep, that's fine. Phillip is you. And then Lachelle just throws out, well, I think CK can go. And they're like, cool, that's cool too.
Yeah.
Like Lachelle was in, like survival mode at that point. She knew what was up. She knew if she let the ball get rolling on her, it would have been her.
And CK says, wow, I'm just starting to realize now how strong David and Parvati are. Really? CK? In episode 8?
You spending all your energy trying
but
after
Dr.
Letty.
Will was the big problem.
Yeah. Spend all your energy going after Letty, and this round was like, that was your chance to really make sure that one of these two people.
To think that maybe Parvati and Dr. Will, or the Parvati and David, that's something that I should keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Well, they have been calling themselves mom and dad and running a like steamroll-esque alliance for most of the game, but we're now this makes me wonder, like, are Parvati and David doing a good job of like hiding their relationship to each other?
No.
I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the other players here, because we hear later in this episode Dixon refer multiple times to as Parvati as his ride or die, and I'm like, sir, you have a mom and a dad. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna get too like child psychology on this, but I'm like,
Go on.
you know, Parvati is with David.
Well,
and I just
does
like, are they
Parvati
doing
wanna
a good
go-
job of like not
Yeah.
showing how close they are?
Does Parvati want to go to the end with David? Is that her
No.
ultimate end game, to like rug pull David and then go to the
She's
end
not
with Dixon?
saying
Yeah.
she doesn't, though.
But
That's the
but
thing.
if you have the option of Dixon and David, and you're sitting there like, door number 1, obstacle
Yeah.
course against David. Door number 2, obstacle course against Dixon. And I think Dixon is putting himself as Parvati's ride or die because he's thinking the same thing. Love the family, but if I have to go up against one of them, what am I going to beat David in? Name the activity. You know what I'm saying? That this man is going to lose to me in. We saw what it was last year. There was like a ropes thing, between Amy and Jordan, right? And it's like, what is Dixon gonna do?
I mean, it makes sense. Like, if you're Dixon, you might think like, okay, eventually she's gonna cut Dad loose. She's gonna say, the marriage is over. I'm taking the kid. Tale as old as time once again. But I really, again, we're not hearing from Parvati that is her plan, and I'm feeling a little bit like David is squeaky clean in all of this business. We hear multiple times, throughout this episode that despite being a part of this alliance that is hated and seen as a big problem, everybody loves David. It's Parvati that everyone is kind of being like, I don't trust this girl. Like, this is bad. And I feel like David even kind of gets his way with Parvati. Like, she ultimately is going to choose what's better for David here than possibly herself. And I just think like there is definitely a situation where Parvati's just like, I want to have fun and I want to get to the end with someone that if I don't win, I'll be happy that they won. And that's David for her. So, until I hear the confessional from Parvati saying, I have to get rid of David eventually, I'm not going to believe it, because she's giving us confessional saying, I think the two of us can run this till the end.
Well, that's the thing. All you did was outline that David's outplaying her, and I think you're right. I think the whole thing with the CK and all that kind of stuff, and the Dr. Will drama and stuff, David wins cool points for getting rid of Dr. Will. That's one thing we saw. They love that.
Right.
They love that. Like, oh yeah, he's our hero. But then at the same time, Parvati has betrayed Philip's trust. You think Philip is just sitting around quietly not telling people about that? Nah, he probably told everybody, hey, Liselle, like, that girl, you can't trust her. And by the end of this episode, even Dixon, who should be completely just like all in on, we got to cut David at some point, is like, David, you're like the dad I never had. I'm like, Parvati, do something, fight back, you're losing.
And she knows too. She knows that he's saying this.
Right, you got to do something, because you're not really making the allies. Like, if people get a chance to shoot Parvati, there's a non-zero chance that they look at Dixon and you as both as targets, and they pick you instead. And that's probably the worst case scenario here.
I'm just saying, we talked, at length in the reality TV community about Dan's mist, and I think that maybe we need to start talking about David's mist, because I just feel like Parvati might be a little bit under some of this here. I don't know what she's thinking.
I would say I feel like that David is under Parvati's mist more than
I think
Parvati's
it's a mutual
David.
misting, but I think that because I do think that David is also going to make moves based on what's good for Parvati as well. But I think David is in the better position of the two of them. And I think so. And I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. But I'm like watching this being like, girl, stand your ground. Like,
do something.
Like, this is a man. We don't let him win here.
Missed aside, even if they both understand that, like, we're the two baddest people out here, you still need to look at other things that he got going on socially. We know Phillip is probably like, I'm done with Parvati. I don't want to go to the end with her. We know that, it seems like Lachelle didn't trust Parvati either. She said that, like, I trust Dave. I like David. I don't trust Parvati. It's great that Lachelle is gone, right? As much as Parvati's like, I wanted to do her a solid. It'd be good for my game. It really would have, because if Lachelle had survived and Parvati had betrayed her and made her play the banker, that'd been one more bridge that she had burnt. I think she's aware that she's kind of losing her numbers here. So she's just got to figure out a way to outmaneuver David in these last couple rounds. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Let's talk about the deal for the people on the bottom. And this goes sour for Dixon. Here's a deal for you, okay? You will be able to protect yourself from getting chosen to play the banker, but you cannot protect yourself from being eliminated if somebody makes a bad deal. First off, is that a position that you necessarily want to be in? Is there any sort of benefit of not being able to be chosen to play the banker, but still being able to be eliminated?
I guess if you know that you look at the people around you and assess that if they like make a good deal, you're not going to be someone that they eliminate. And so if you're not playing the banker, you can guarantee that you're not going to be eliminated because but that's like a very specific scenario. I'd still be like, this isn't that much of a benefit. Like I'm still sweating watching this Deal or No Deal game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll have some iced tea. And I would rather play the banker. I feel like we talk about this all the time. It's better to be playing the banker than to be not playing the banker and be in danger of going home.
They scared of playing the banker. We saw it at this very episode. But when it comes down to Dixon and Lachelle, both faced with the opportunity to play the banker or to let their fate be decided by somebody else, they begged not to play the banker. We saw it last week. Dr. Will made a ridiculous deal to not play the banker. The banker, her power, okay? She got these people shook. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. They're not ready to go up against her. She's not the banker of last year. This ain't no Howie. We even stepped it up this year with the new banker.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like it seems clear that, superstition or statistics or probability is starting to weigh on people's minds here, because there's multiple mentions of people feel like a bad deal is coming, feel like too many people in a row have made good deals, and the pendulum is gonna swing back, like you said, Rob, and someone's gonna make a bad deal, and they don't want to be the person facing the banker this week. They just want to push somebody else out first to do it, and I think that that's part of it. At first I thought this is a clear, Letty, you have been making inroads with Dixon. Obviously, you and Phillip are a thing. Make CK, vote against CK. Be a voting block here and get rid of CK. But then quickly, I realized they understand, okay, she has now been a part of 2 good deals. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be eliminated by her. Right. So Dixon is the safer person, because it's I guess they're assuming Dixon would get rid of CK. Is that what they're expecting here?
Well, Letty's thing is he ain't gonna get rid of me, and so she's like, pick him. And then I think from that point, everybody has to, identify.
But Dixon feels suddenly jilted.
Yes.
By Letty as quickly as these feelings came on. He's all of a sudden, it's like, well, now I don't trust Letty. I feel betrayed.
He thought his flirting was working. He was like, I got it right where I want. Ooh, wait, huh? What? What do you mean? I thought
she playing me?
Yeah, wait, I'm the Parvati here, not you.
It's Deal or No Deal Island. Oops, all Parvatis. Everyone is playing Parvati's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so we have another challenge. Zipline. Only 2 people may cross. Okay, and Lachelle does not want to go over the zip line. Similar to Seychelles from the 2 eliminations ago, where it's like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. Ends up being where she ends up going home also.
But if you're Lachelle, this is a no-brainer, and I support her decision here. She has no idea that there's shit going back on over with the other 4 that have just increased her odds of going home. She's sitting there thinking, I have a good relationship with everyone here. I am not in anyone's crosshairs. And I just got to the end of the road with David or Parvati. One of them are going to be the people that chooses who faces the banker. With everything that's going on here, they're not going to choose me. They're going to choose somebody else to either get rid of somebody they want to get rid of, or hope that they make a bad deal and go home, and then they'll get rid of somebody else. Like, Liselle did nothing wrong here. Absolutely nothing wrong, because based on the information she had at this point, there are only two people who are going to be safe here. The last two people. So in her mind, David and Parvati, one of them chooses who faces the banker. She looks at the other people who are back there and also at risk in her mind, and she says, I don't need to be getting blood on my hands, deciding who faces the banker here, picking a side. I'm playing the damn middle. She got screwed by not knowing what was happening with these other four. Like,
Rob,
that's just how it is.
Screwed by the twist. I completely agree. Why would she want to be in the position to take the shot? Nobody's coming for her. And then David and Parvati, who are seemingly the most powerful people in the game, they say, hey, we'll save you, you save us. Cool, bet, that's perfect. Because if you do put me up against the banker, now I have your life in my hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna take out one of your allies because you're forcing me to play the banker. Now she ends up being the move she leverages, and it doesn't work out because she does lose to the banker. But I think, like, the thought process of that was perfect. I don't think there's any world where she was going to be able to get across that thing like, you know, as fast as she would have wanted to, as fast as they did, because she seemed like she was very afraid. So I didn't hate it.
And if she's thinking, okay, Parvati and David are going to be safe, there's no risk for them personally here. If she's thinking Phillip, Letty, CK, and Dixon are all choices to face the banker as well at this point, she's not thinking there's any situation they're going to pick her. They're going to pick Letty or Phillip and say, if you lose, we might lose Dixon, but probably CK, and that's fine for us. Like, I totally understand Liselle's thought process here, and the more I talk about it, the more upset I am for her, because she really got hosed here.
Well, Liselle goes back down the mountain, and nobody tells her that, hey, we're all safe. That
she
she's
something
gonna find that
amiss,
she senses like something is off here.
Yeah.
And so she'll find out in just a minute. Parvati and David, they get over the zip line. I feel like we didn't really get to see Parvati on the zip line, right? I feel like we saw David, and then
she said it was hard, like a little bit.
Yada yada, Parvati on the zip line.
Yeah,
and of course they made it back with like 4 seconds.
1 second left. They made it.
They had to.
It's like
$2.5 million on the line.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's find out what's going on. All right. So, Parvati has the highest case. She'll decide who's facing the banker, and Dixon and Liselle are the only two people available to pick from.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I'm Liselle, I'm like, what the hell, guys? You know, don't get me wrong. She's not extremely aligned with any of them. It doesn't seem like, so they don't really have any incentive to make sure that she's okay. But they definitely threw her under the bus for this. Like, this did not have to be like this at all. They were all on self-preservation mode. I'll give them credit for that one.
Okay.
I feel like they yada this a little bit. And if I'm Liselle, I'm being like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Because, and again, it was probably edited down, but I feel like they're like, yeah. And then they were offered a deal to decide like only one person of these four would be at risk to face the banker. And in doing that, they sealed your fate, Liselle. And like, she makes a face, but I feel like the face should have come with and sorry, what? Can you explain what happened here and why? Like, why am I at risk?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Parvati has to make a decision. And she seems like she is wanting Dixon to do it. Dixon doesn't want to do it. And Parvati's just saying things to him like, I really need you to stay in this game.
Yeah.
Make a good deal.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's good for you, Dixon. He's like, I don't want to do that. She's like, yeah, but but is that the best thing for you? That I don't want to play the like, yeah, but I don't know. It just what's the best strategic? He's like, I don't want to play the yeah, but it's just so hard. I just having a hard time. He's like, no, it's not a hard time. It should not be a decision. We are aligned. You're my ride or die. I'm your child, woman. Don't put me up against the banker. She's like, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Let me talk to Lachelle. I gotta let me fill out Lachelle and see what she says.
But she really doesn't want to go against her word to Lachelle,
which is understandable because that is one person that by keeping her word to Lachelle, you might think this is a number I can gain here. Someone that's on my side more than anyone else is here. And that might not have actually been how it played out, but you have reason to think that, like, do this person a solid. And if everything goes well, then that's someone that will ride for you, or at least is not going to be targeting you first. And what I just don't understand is, because I feel like based on the conversation she was having, what Parvati wanted to do was have Dixon face the banker and then just really hope that he made a good deal and eliminated, like Letty or Phillip here, obviously. However, I don't know why she doesn't go to Dixon and say, just so you know, Lachelle is saying that if she plays, she's going to eliminate you. And I actually think you have better odds of just playing the banker. We saw what you did. You cooked against the banker, and that protects you from being eliminated by somebody else. And then we lock this game in for us because you can get rid of a Letty or a Phillip who is more likely to be in the position of choosing who faces the banker in a future round and is going to attack one of us here. Like, I just don't know why she didn't take that angle with Dixon, because I feel like that's what she wanted to happen, right?
That's why you're the Dondi strategic queen, Jenny.
Yeah. I didn't think
Parvati
that.
could never.
I didn't think that was like a wild thing, but like, Lachelle tells Parvati that that's what she's going to do.
Yeah. I'm coming after you, my pretty, and your little dog too. She said, Dixon, it's him. It's him. You're not going to let me take out your son, are you? Or is that what you're going to do? You're going to play with his life? And Parvati's like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, actually, yeah.
And I thought that maybe from Lachelle, that was just like a threat that she was using to try to keep her out of the position. But then Lachelle says in a confessional that that's what she was going to do. So I'm just like, again, I might just be misreading what Parvati's intention was, but I felt like that's what she actually wanted to do, was feel okay putting Dixon in and not feel like she was burning him. And I think that she could have made Dixon feel a little bit more empowered by telling him, Lachelle, if she makes a good deal, she's actually going to eliminate you. So why don't we just make sure that you are in the driver's seat here?
Maybe there's some concern that things get hot at the temple sometimes, that maybe does it come out that then Dixon is like, Lachelle, you were targeting me, and it's like, no, Parvati told me to target you.
Yeah.
Parvati, you gonna tell him?
But Parvati
tell him?
You think Lachelle's gonna? I don't know. I guess you're right. Like, that there could be a fear, but I don't know.
Yeah. And then on top of all of that, the guilt that you would have, right? Like, that you put your son up there, you like emotionally manipulated him into going and making a move that, although it might have been in his best interest, he didn't want to do it. And so it's like, yeah, you got him to do the thing, but if he loses, like, yeah, I got put up elimination against my will by my mom, and then I got sent home.
Okay. No. Can I raise a question here? Sorry, Rob.
Yes.
Let you speak first.
No, that I'm going to go on to the next thing. So
okay. So what I want to raise as a question here is, has Parvati and David, to another extent, have they shot themselves in the foot here by introducing this parental relationship? Is that, like, does that become like, because they're both parents in real life, have they made things like psychologically more complicated for them by adding this layer of emotion in these relationships that is more complicated and deeply emotionally rooted than this is a friend I've made out on this. Like, we know that they're not truly family, but do you think that by like giving this the like role playing relationship of this alliance, that they have made it even harder for them to, you know, be selfless or selfish and, you know, put themselves in front of their child? Like, I feel like they're making moves emotionally based on like how they would handle these relationships if Dixon was truly their child.
See, I don't see it that way. I think that they have made these bonds with the intent to emotionally manipulate their child of like, hey, I'm your dad. You're not going to take me out, right? You're not going to do something against your mom, right? These are your parents.
But that's a double-edged sword.
And also, especially like, not to, pile on from what Phillip was saying, especially considering Dixon's background of having adopted parents and having parental issues to then paint yourself as mom and dad. But I'm sure that was just a coincidence. But in terms of that, we've seen Parvati and David both be like, well, if Dixon has to go, Dixon has to go. I don't think that they've done any moves that are necessarily like David was feeling a little bit some type of way after Dixon came to him and said, you're better than my real dad. You're the dad I always wanted. And I think that was what got to him.
They have not gone out of their way to act against him. They have been like, hey, if somebody that we can't control snipes our son, we have no control over that. But being in the situation where you have to make a move that is potentially going to sever that relationship, I feel like there's a level of like emotional complication that is like hindering them from making more self-motivated decisions. Chappell, do you not think that? I don't know. I just feel like there's something different about like that sort of relationship being like the model here.
I think there's a middle ground, right, between what you and Rob are saying. I think that they are incentivized to keep Dixon around because both of them probably think they have a good chance about beating Dixon in the final 2 or 3 or whatever. It's like, I'm never going to put him in a position to go home if I can avoid it. That's just one thing I'm not going to do because he's my GOAT. He's my person that at least if it comes down to something physical, I have a good chance. I'm not saying he can't beat them in anything. I'm saying he might not be able to beat David in anything, but he is going to be outmatched in something physical against them. They just have the size and like probably like the athleticism over him a bit. I'm not saying it's a blowout, but I just feel like I would give the edge to both of them. Competition reality all-stars, right?
Of course.
But I do agree that this episode, especially this episode, when Dixon and David have the conversation, David is in tears. Like he's not like he was like, damn, that's crazy that you said I'm like your dad. That's wild. Next time I have to cut you. He's kind of like, you know what he said to me? You know what he said to me? He said, I'm like his dad. Dixon, and then David started reflecting on his own past and his dad and his kids and stuff. I think that there's a level of that. Like this became infinitely harder to betray him, but at the same time, they were never really going to betray him. Like why would they betray him? If anything, keep this going so he doesn't betray you because he's the one they should be concerned about. Dixon should not want to go to the end with either of them.
Okay.
You owe us now. We gave you a home. We fed you. We sheltered you.
We took you in. Like, what?
Parvati, ultimately, the Banker's Temple is going to select Liselle. Do you feel like that this went back and forth again where, that they were thinking about putting Dixon in, or did this decision change after that conversation between Dixon and David?
I don't know. It's hard to know because it's like Jenny outlined perfectly what they should be doing. They, Dixon should be playing the banker and taking out one of their ops.
Empower him.
Because I got from the conversation that Parvati had with Liselle that it seemed like that Parvati and Liselle had agreed that Liselle was going to play the banker and take out Dixon if she won. And it seemed like that Parvati was going to put her in that position. But then Liselle got asked in the Banker's Temple, are you surprised? And she said, yeah, a little bit.
No,
she said she was blindsided. I don't think she was. I think she was shocked by this.
Yeah, my takeaway from the conversation with Parvati and Liselle was that she didn't want. She felt bad because neither of them wanted to do it. But I didn't take away that she was saying to Liselle, okay, if you might face the banker here, and then the plan is you take out Dixon. Like, again, Liselle, and we know Liselle is a very reasonable person. Like, she's like, you know, I don't think that she misinterpreted a conversation with Parvati. I think that it was very likely that there was something that was said that made her think she was good and that it was probably going to be Dixon. Because again, I felt like that was what Parvati wanted to happen. And then, like, for whatever reason, she shifted at some point. Because even in the conversation with David, after he talks to Dixon and David comes to her and says, he said that I'm like he wished that he had a dad like me, like these emotions, like this is so complicated. Parvati says to him, do you want me to get Liselle? Like, do you want me to put up Liselle to do it? Like, she's trying to be like, do you feel emotionally guilty here? Do you want me to help you feel less guilty, and we'll just have
so you think
Liselle
it
do
did
it?
change?
I think it did change because she said that, and then David said no, because she's still gonna get rid of him. So to me, it felt like at this stage when they had this conversation, they were planning on having Dixon face the banker, and I don't know when it changed or why, but it changed. I was genuinely surprised when it ended up being Liselle that faced the banker, just because that conversation between David was even saying, no, like he's still going to go if Liselle makes a bad deal. Like we're not saving him by putting up Liselle. That was my takeaway.
Liselle played it perfectly. She threw their child in the line of fire and said, yeah, you could kill me, but what if he gets hit? And they're like, oh my God, what if he gets hit? I can't. And then honestly, I would have loved a confessional from Dixon. I don't think he was playing along these lines, but had he looked in the confessional and said, yeah, now David's probably not going to get rid of me now that I told him he's like my dad. Like, I've been like, Dixon,
emotional manipulation.
Right. Yeah. Like, drop the mic, Dixon. But we didn't get that. Joe says like, all right, do either one of y'all play it? And they're both like, no, they're not trying to go up against the banker.
And this is where I wonder how much of this like weird feeling of superstition that the next person to play the banker, what goes up must come down, that they were going to make a bad deal, and that maybe Parvati and David just said, let's roll the dice. We piss off Liselle and potentially lose Dixon if she makes a good deal. But I really think that it's gonna be a bad deal, and because it just really seemed like the way everyone was talking, like no one wanted any part of this week. There was bad juju in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, Rob, you brought this up before talking about Survivor. Sometimes once you start that train of thought, though, you kind of have to just go with it, because it did feel like Dixon was like, "Yeah, but why were you considering me so hard?" I don't even think they dodged the Dixon, angst at that point. I think he's still like, "Hey, thank you for not putting me up, but." Why
was it a hard decision? Yeah,
right.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, he knows that he was even in danger, and that's enough for him to be like, excuse me? Like,
yeah.
what?
Mom, Dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
Let's talk about the banker's temple. So we're going to see Liselle play the banker. Case number 10 is Liselle's case. She ends up with opening a few cases. Deal number 1 is $240,000. Nobody takes the first deal except for when Dr. Will fakes out pushing the button.
But also, Dr. Will's deal was better. Like, it was better odds. This was $240K, and it was a
even
50-50.
4 up, 4 down.
So it was like definitively not a good deal to take.
Yeah, and so then we get a second deal, $725K, and for $725K. 2 up and 2 down. Again, another 50-50 shot for her. She says, no deal.
Yeah. She only had to open one case at that point. And 2.5 and 1.75 mil are right there. So it's like, we can narrow this down a bit.
And so I guess she just opens one more case, and then the deal comes to like a weird number, $1,558,000.
What does that take them to? Like, was there a reason why it was that number? Like, I missed if they take that deal, does it make it like the rounded number? Because we saw the banker get rid of the $1 situation. Yeah. So I'm like, are they trying to make like a nice rounded number here? If they
maybe the banker has, maybe that's a clue to the banker that she has a thing about round numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't help me at all. But maybe it helps somebody.
All right.
Figure out who it
So Liselle has the offer on the table and she took the deal. Were you surprised Liselle took this deal?
Yeah. Yeah, because Liselle liked that. She a gambler. You could tell. Joe kept saying like, hey, Liselle, you do this. She's like, yeah, I'm the dopest. Like, look, don't worry about me. I'm Liselle. Like even her competitors were like, yeah, that's Liselle. She too real. So it just felt like nah, Liselle, if Liselle go up against the banker, it's one-on-one. We taking this down to the wire. I think like you said, Rob, the peer pressure of what if you get down to the wire and it's literally a penny and that is your case and that is what you added to the pot and you did all that and you lost to the banker and you missed out on $1.558 million.
Bye. Have fun. I don't care.
I wasn't making any money anyway.
What do I care how much money gets in the pot? I'm leaving. I'm going.
Liselle built different. She built different. She built different.
She
built different.
It's the problem here is that this was the first deal where the odds were not in her favor. The other deals, I understand it's 50-50. It's like, you want to keep going. But she ends up in a situation where the deal that she's given here, it's like the chances that she has more in her case are better than that she has left.
She had 66. There were 3 cases left at this point?
There were 3. Okay. There were 3 cases left. 2 of them higher than the offer, and then the one penny I think was still out there. And then I think that she put too much into the idea. If you take that deal, you're saying I feel I have the 1 penny in this briefcase. Like that's the only. The only situation where you don't make a bad deal. And so that's why I'm like, I would almost feel like you get down to it, you play it out here. Like this, I think would be more understandable to let her play it out and say, I picked this case for a reason. I think there's a good number in it. I want to see what it comes out to. It's not the same as the Luke situation. I really just don't think it's the same. But yeah, I was surprised that she took this deal because it was the first deal where the odds were not in her favor.
All right. And ultimately, Liselle is going to go home. She was pretty dope.
The dopest.
Joe says he loves her. Like, that's what I'm saying. The social game.
Seems like a nice lady. Yeah.
Like, she has Joe saying he loves her. She's dope. He's giving her hugs. Like, no one was happy to see Liselle go. Maybe Dixon, but that's just because it wasn't him, right? He didn't have anything against Liselle personally. No one felt good. Like this was good for their game. And that's a sign of a great social game. And that's why, that's why someone in Liselle's position can win. It's just like, sometimes you'll make a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seychelle, we asked her about Liselle and she was just
Seychelle was very fun
floater.
in the interview.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Yeah. I miss her so much.
We had a time. Okay.
Her presence, it has been missed. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, she talked very highly about Liselle and said that she's like a master floater. She was like, no, it's not. She's not just a floater. Like she's killing it. Like only giving you enough information, only telling you enough about herself that you then go and open up about yourself. She was
and Liselle knows it because the conversation with Parvati, like, and we get the confessional from her saying like, my game is the social game. I'm a social worker. Like, I share enough so that people feel like they really know me. I'm listening. I'm saying enough, but not really giving my true feelings, but you still feel like you know me. Like that's masterful. She's playing the social game and she knows how to do it. So yeah, it's tough to see someone go in that. Like that's like a winning position in a lot of situations, but Deal or No Deal is ruthless.
Okay, so how many people are we down to on 6. Deal or No Deal Island?
6 people. Final 6, y'all. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Phillip had a good line. He said, no, I'm not surprised that this is the final 6 by any stretch of the imagination. And honestly, I will give the editors of this season a round of applause for that. I think season 1, we were like, where is Jordan? There were a few people where we were like, who is this person? For weeks, we were like, who is Jordan? You're not even showing her. This time, we have given the majority of the screen time to the people who are left. I think aside from Will Everybody else who's gone had their moments, but they're gone now. And now we're down to the nitty gritty. Each of these people you could reasonably see winning the game based on their edits, whereas it won't be a shock if any of them takes it. We'll see.
All right, let's do winner draft.
Oh,
Ooh.
I was thinking about this, Rob, because I already ranked in my head the likeliness I thought that the final 6 could win.
Okay.
So
all right, winner draft, and it's a snake draft. Okay,
not an iguana draft.
Not an iguana draft. Okay, so whoever has 1, 2, 3, and then if you have 3, you have 4. So basically, do you want one? Does anybody want to call? Do you want 1 in 6?
Can we not randomize it, Sam?
I'll take 1 in 6.
Who's getting?
That's fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I don't care. I don't have I don't have a strong. So I'll take 3 and 4 if Jenny, if you're up for 2 and 5.
Sure, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Chappell has the number 1 draft pick. Who you got?
I'm going with Phillip. I cannot see anybody. Well, I don't see Parvati going up against the banker anytime soon, and she's the person who I think would take her out, and so take him out. And so as long as Parvati's not up against the banker, I think he's fine.
Okay, Jenny, number 2 draft pick.
Okay. Oh, this is tough. I am going. Oh, I don't know.
I thought you were.
I know. Okay. I'm gonna go with David.
Okay.
Good one.
Physical and like Parvati is the bigger villain to other people in front of him.
Okay.
But again, I don't know what the end game's gonna look like.
All right.
I gotta give it to David.
Number 3 pick, I gotta take Parvati. Most experienced player on the board, and does not ever be vulnerable where she can be eliminated. And I think that she could ultimately pull the rug out from David as she gets closer to the end. And then number 4, I'm gonna say Letty.
Yep.
Okay. Letty, I think, has the strength to win these challenges, and I think that is not necessarily like a persona non grata where people are necessarily coming for her. Maybe Dixon a little bit, but I don't think he's going to eliminate her, and so I think that maybe it could be Letty. All right, Jenny, pick number 5, and then
I was considering going for Letty when I didn't take David there.
And for the second night in a row, Chappell will get the last pick.
I feel good about my pick here, though. I'm going to pick CK.
CK. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to just talk that through?
I just feel like I can see it from a story perspective. And I think that in a way that she's kind of fallen into even though she really pissed a lot of people off, I think that we're down so far in the numbers and they have not been able to take a crack at David and Parvati that I think that if Letty and Phillip end up in some sort of power position, that they're going to be like, I'm not going to concern myself with CK. Like, I'm not winning against Parvati or David. I need to get rid of one of them. And I think that she might end up in this situation where it's like a set of 2 people kind of shooting at each other. And then like her and Dixon kind of fall into the middle of like people not really like thinking about them. And so that's where I see like an end path for CK. And she has beat the banker twice now. She's the only one who has beat the banker twice. So something to be said there. I don't know.
All right. And then Chappell, Dixon.
Yes, I think from a story and a narrative standpoint, the last 2 picks are the ones who got the best story if they win. I think CK, we've seen CK down, we've seen CK at the top, we've seen CK all over the place, pariah. And I think Dixon is the same. He's one of the first people that we see kind of on the outs or like trying to build an alliance and stuff like that. He goes up against the banker already. He's been fighting his way into this family.
Case.
Yeah, and then now I think physically he's probably the smallest person on the tribe left, and so he would have to be like tribe on the game in the game left, and he would have to do like some amazing things to take this win. And I think that for me, we end the season on a high if somebody like Dixon wins.
Okay, all right.
We don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah,
like Joe said, everything. If you thought you came in ready by studying the previous season,
Yeah.
Throw that
well,
away.
we don't know what's
So-
going to happen here because there are 5 episodes left of Dondi for 6 people.
Which
A lot of
how?
episodes. A lot of episodes, Dondi. What are y'all doing? What are we doing?
Are they bringing Will back in? Are we getting a battle
Well,
back?
The end game was a little like wonky where that it was the final 4, but then there was like multiple episodes. And then also
Yeah.
I think that the final banker's temple like played out over 2 episodes where the banker landed in the next to last episode. And we had the banker's temple in the final episode.
Oh,
so
we do have to do a banker reveal episode. That is
banker
true.
reveal.
A
So
whole
Yeah.
episode though?
We'll see.
No.
we'll see. Maybe we're going to get a full reunion episode.
I would like to
Oh.
see it.
Especially
And if-
this cast.
Mhm.
And if they don't do it, I would like to host it.
To be
Not
it.
me personally.
Yeah, I would
Yes.
like to be
Yes.
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
that'd
would
be
like
great.
to have everyone on and we can all talk.
Okay.
That's what I would like.
All right. So there you have it. Dondi for episode number 8. We'll be back next week to talk about it all. And we'll have our exit interview coming up with Lachelle. And of course, we'd love to get your comments here on the YouTube channel at robbinswebsite.com/YouTube. Jenny, anything else coming up for you?
Shout out to the Dawn Divas and the Dawn Deviants.
Yeah.
All my love to those people hanging in there. It was a rough week last week, and we're still here. We got to see this all play out. Looking forward to talking to Lachelle tomorrow. Check that out, and I will be talking some Big Brother in a couple days here.
Whoa.
A little tease. There's a interesting season called Big Brother 9, and I will be talking about it on the RHAP channel here, the Big Brother retrospective. So stay tuned for that. That should be a hot mess, just like that season was. And anything else, follow me on social media at Jenny Autumn, and 5 more episodes of Dondi. I'm really pumped to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I feel good
Chappell,
about my team.
what's exciting going on for you?
Well, last night you and I were joined by the panel of drafters to draft the new Survivor season winner of Survivor 48. And so that was a good time. So that people can check that out and see what my team is over there. As Rob has alluded to, I had the last pick there too, but I'm feeling strong about my crew. So check it out and make sure you keep up with all our Survivor coverage, as Rob and I will be resuming Club Condo next week, and for the premiere of Survivor. So that'll be great too. So check us out and all our Survivor coverage here. If you're new here to the Dondi coverage, if you came here for Dondi, stick around for Survivor. I'm telling you, it's great. So do that. Then check me and Mary out talking about Extracted on Fox every week. We just dropped our
I've heard
recap
good
of
things
last
about the
episode.
Extracted recaps.
Yeah, they're fun. We're doing a lot over there. It's a tier list going on. It's a whole thing. Check it out with me and Mary. And then me and Rob talked about Suits LA recently to compare it to Suits proper over on suitspodcast.com. We also have our Netflix / Hanging with Hulu coverage of the Paradise show.
Oh my
on
God.
Hulu with Sterling K.
Paradise,
Brown.
episode several.
Yeah, episode several. Check it out. It was a doozy. And then make sure you catch me and Rob's recap on the Nothing But Netflix podcast. And then on my podcast, Recap Kickback, talking about Black cartoon characters this month to round out Black History Month. We did a Brant Steele to see which of the Black cartoon characters will be the sole survivor in our first of probably a bunch of Brant Steeles we'll do over the course of forever. So that was a great time. And then you can catch me and Mari talking about the SAG Awards, the NAACP Image Awards, and Clean Slate, the TV show starring Laverne Cox, all on recapkickback.com. And yeah, catch me guesting on the Crying Laughing podcast too. I talked about The Pit. It's the best show on television. Don't let anybody tell you different.
Okay. Survivor Know-It-Alls is back Wednesday night after the episode. So join Stephen Fishback and I as we recap episode 1 of Survivor 48 and then all of the Survivor coverage that you expect right here. Make sure you're subscribed and looking forward to talking Dondi again with you next time. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.